The new channel. The new channel. Hashtag tncnow.
The views, opinions, and insights expressed in the following shows are those of the host, producers, guests, and viewers. They do not necessarily reflect the position of the channel. Viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome and hello to the new channel. Our passion is really to transform the new you. This is Jesse Francis Rebustillo live streaming from Marcelo Green Village, Paranaque, here on HR Hotline, Season 8, Episode 138. I was caught off guard because I was forwarding the invites to my friends. It's a wonderful day. The sun is up, and early in the morning, I was walking my dogs. I already had some gardening, and I would like to tell you that it is only a few days before Christmas. Direct, how many days are we before Christmas? Yes, it is 84 days. It is 84 days before Christmas. Can you take a picture and would like to post it in the social media? Can you get me, take a picture of me peeping into that poster? Yes, it's only 84. You know, when it's Christmas, it's not only the deep meaning of your spirituality, but of course, the lighter side is from, what is that song? From 2 to 92? Faithful friends who are dear to us, gather near to us once more. Yeah, and then there is always the child in me that I look forward for Christmas. I can always remember the Christmases in Bicol, and my dad will really insist that we have castañas. You will have to go here to Manila to buy, because we are in Legazpi, mind you, and that was late 60s, early 70s. Apples and castañas, and we have that. So the feeling, and we even had that chance because my lolo used to be a chaplain in PIMA. No, 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 in PMA. Moises Rebustillo, a chaplain, not the one that you died recently. There was a time that I was, I think, 10. We have to pick up the corns of the pine cones. And I think we're only the ones in Bicol who have that for Christmas. I got it from my Lola mother's side, my Josefina Neri Napay. As early as October, the house is already spruced up with Christmas decor. So I have that. So I have that in my heart that I'm still a a child when it comes to Christmases. Now we continue with our discussion on um, corporate planning. This has been the topic for, I think, 7 episodes. We started on what is corporate planning, differentiated with business continuity. Then we started with formulation, wherein we discussed about the mission, the vision, and the goals. And then that one of strategic development, wherein you have to scan the the environment, SWOT, SOAR, slept. Then we have this, how you're going to translate that into operational. That is actually the strategic execution. Now, you know what I'm doing here because here in HR, it is a trend that we have what you call the HRBP. Of course, that is a position, but it's also something that we have to, because to think about, because it is also a mindset, it's an approach, it's actually a strategy. It's actually a strategy. Now you're going to provide your HR management services to the organization. So the HRBP is actually founded on the strategy of the organization strategy. And she or he should be the one to really connect what are the HR programs that should be executed, align it with the organization strategic directions. You know, it is very similarly in the ears, but there is a difference between directions and plans. Okay, so this time we started already last week. What are those in the HR programs that has to be strategic? One of which we discussed started with talent acquisition. Considering the pandemic, there are a lot of things that we need to do, we need to consider, we need to input to make our acquisition, that is talent acquisition, is strategic. One, it has to be based with the organization direction. But two, one has to think that recruitment, that is sourcing, selection, onboarding, is a subset of acquisition. So, what are the strategic requirements, initiatives for acquisition? One is the brand. It's a little bit marketing, but HR and all the leaders have to look into that. You may be recruiting, what do you call this, promoting a lot of your advert. You remember that I came from Inquirer and I was with Job Market, and there was an extensive advertisement for jobs. But that will be a paradox if you have you try to invite people, but actually your culture or your brand is not so good in the market. You are not an employer of choice. So that is, I think, the first strategy that HR and leaders should think about. What is the organization's brand in the labor, in the job market? And then, of course, relationships. You might be enticing them, spending a lot, putting it at the social media, asking people to join you. But there are also rants and news in the social media that people are not happy working with you. So relationships, you have to think of the not attrition, but a turnover. Turnover is that one that you accept the person now, he doesn't even reach his regular uh there is no word as regularization, regular employment. So you have to look into that. One is the brand, one is the relation, and the other one is actually how you really are taken by the community. That is the credibility. So that is the strategy that is very important. Direct, you can just let a PPO but come in if he's already here. Anyway, the next one. I didn't tell you that you have to be in orange, but you are also in orange, my dear friend. Look at that. Kambal talaga kami. Kambal talaga kami. A PPO but is also in orange. I think direct is fixing it. So I continue. So we also, so what are the other um, strategies for acquisition? One, it has to be online. So you have to be competency based. You have to be competency based. So you need to have a competency framework. You need to have a design. If not, you have to think of a competency that should be embedded in the job description, that should be the basis in your interviews. If you're listening to me now, try to look into it. Even big ones, even small ones. I know a lot will tell me we have competencies, but is that being used as basis for your selection? That is another strategy. It has to have based on competency framework. And the other one, you use a competency based selection. And the third one is that when you try to look for people, you're already thinking of them to be retained. So those are the things that we discussed last time. So here is uh, my dear friend, my mentor. When I was the president, he actually handhold me and how am I going to manage the association that we are a member of. Okay, good morning, my dear friend, my brother, and my kakambal, and my mentor, my idol, Obet Policarpio. Good morning.
Good morning, magandang tanghali sa inyong lahat.
Okay.
What a coincidence na pareho tayo naka-orange. Hindi
Oo
na
nga,
tayo
hindi tayo
nag-usap.
nag-usap ito. anyway, nag-umpisa na ako. I was telling them in summary what we have been talking for the past 6 episodes na. It's actually on corporate uh, ano, uh, um, strategic planning. And then I mentioned about what we discussed last time that we started with acquisition. Ang dami mga sinabi noon. Now we're supposed to start with learning and development. And I know you have been doing that for the longest time. Pero can I call you PP Obet or sometimes I'll call you Obet?
Obet
You
na
know,
lang.
Obet. Obet, I'm just curious, no? Kasi we're talking about uh, strategic planning. Yung relevance ng strategic planning ngayon. Kasi di ba, gas-gas na nga ito, but it is actually being felt, the VUCA, that is volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. Nagdagdag pa nga ako dyan ng D-driven, di ba? And it's happening because of the pandemic. So ang tanong ko, relevance ng strategic plan. Although tinuturo ko, oo naman. Pero I would like to get your thoughts. We are talking about strategic planning. Ano ang relevance pa kaya nito ngayon?
Well, in relation to your question, the strategic plan is highly relevant. It's not only relevant these days.
Oo.
No? Because as we know, the meaning of strategy is how to outsmart the competitors.
Right.
But before we look outside of the business, of the organization, we must look first inside. Looking in
Yep.
from the outside po. Diba? As we know. Kasi how can I, as member of the team and of the organization, will be able to effectively do my roles and carry out my responsibilities if my mindset is not first and foremost focused on myself as part of a bigger picture, which is the team. That's why
Okay.
if for all of us listening here, di ba, there are a lot of available tools, research-based approaches. Kaya yung SWOT, yung strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats, hindi mo mawala yan in the strat planning workshop
Okay, this
process.
is the scanning of the environment. Mm-mm.
Yeah, oo.
Pero,
So, kailangan maintindihan natin yan.
so what I gathered from you is that, yes, even with me, because I'm teaching that, uh, it is relevant. Pero how about the time frame? Before you answer that, I would like to greet my uh, former office mate and actually my assistant, si Ami Custodios is listening to us. Okay, Ami, listen to us. Ha? Yung ginagawa natin tong dalawa, yung mga strategic plan na hindi natin naintindihan. Pero ito ngayon, no, pinag-uusapan na namin na ni PP Obet. So, PP Obet, di ba noon, Marcos time, ang long term is 20. Pagdating ni Corin, naging 10. Pagdating ni Pinoy, naging actually 5 na lang siguro. Ano masasabi mo ngayon ng strategic plan? Kasi sabi mo nga, it's relevant. Nakikinig si
Highly
Ami,
relevant.
ang highly relevant, essential. Sa amin kasi ginagawa namin yan noon, di ba Ami ha? Ang ginagawa namin noon 20, tapos 10, tapos 5. Ngayon, pwede ka ba mag-20?
Hindi na. Sabi mo nga sa example mo, Marcos time, 20, Coris time, 10 o 5. So, it only means because ang pagbabago, ang bilis na ngayon, especially with the advent of several platforms using technology. So, kailangan sasabay tayo dyan. I think the key here is not to really focus so much on the strategic plan. It's how you translate the strategies into doable,
Yeah.
practical. That's
I
why you
think
need to have annual plan.
I think doon yan sa sa strategic execution kasi yung strategic formulation are just directions, di ba? And
Exactly.
ang sabi nga natin, it cannot even go beyond 3 years. Ang 5 years nga is too long sa tingin ko.
Ako
Sa
ganito lang
tingin
yung simpleng paliwanag ko lang dyan, no? Kunyari, gagawa ka ng leche flan. Kasi lunchtime na ngayon. Naisip mong gumawa ng leche flan. Now, in the middle of preparing your leche flan, kulang ka sa gamit. O kaya biglang nawala yung yung flame. Anong gagawin mo? Mag-stick ka pa ba dun sa formula ng leche flan? Diba?
Hindi
And
na.
tawag na agility. Yung dyan papag yung creativity, innovation. So similarly, when a pilot is already in the up air, hindi naman lilipad dyan na walang flight plan approved flight plan. Kaya lang hindi mo alam while the plane is up there, ano ang meron doon. Kaya nga sa likod ng pilot, meron niya kasama may assistant yan. Similarly, doon din sa captain of the ship, hindi naman siya nag-iisa. May mga kasama siya sa likod niya, yung voyage plan. Ay,
Okay.
strategic plan. It's not a cast in stone. It's not a cast in stone. So, it's how you really maneuver to be highly relevant. So, given the VUCA, the pandemic.
So what I gather from you is you just need a plan in the direction, but that is not cast in stone because
Yes.
along the way, baka talaga mag-change ka, mag-i-input ka ng change. And then there is a need for that to be translated into operational plans. And that is more important rather than trying to impose on the strat plan. Okay. Now, nagsabi ka, PP Obet, very nice. Yung mga tao, di ba nagbago ng strategy ng strategic plan na hindi lang yan exclusive sa taas?
Oo
Kasi 'di ba
naman.
noon when I was kami ni na Ami noon, ang alam niya namin na Ami, ang gumagawa lang niyan yung mga executive director, mga director, parang nag-iba na 'yan. That was around 30 years ago, 'di ba, Ams? Ano ang masasabi mo diyan, Pipi Obet? 'Di ba nag-change na
Alam
yung
mo,
strategy, strategic planning?
for any plan, no matter what you call it, hindi pa pwedeng hand me down. Hindi pa pwedeng top to bottom. Kailangan
Ang galing ng sinabi mo, ha?
horizontal and vertical approach. Remember, the management team, they have this exclusive outlook as part of the management team. Mga visionary yan eh. Kaya lang, yung operationalization nasa baba. Pero meron din naman mga dapat na kunin galing sa baba sa shop floor. Kaya ano yan eh, ako for any plan to be effective, efficient, productive, and successful, dapat yan lahat magkakasama. For example, practical ako bigay example, sa basketball team, hindi pa pwedeng lahat ng strategy nang gagaling sa coach. Eh, yung coach na nanonood, hindi naman siya nandun sa loob ng court. So you involve your team, no? Kaya during the practice game, tune-up games, doon mo makikita yan. Kaya nga, ang sabi mo kanina, dapat bang impose yan? Hindi. Kahit nung araw, hindi, meron mga gumagawa niya, hindi siya ini-impose. Kasi alam natin, each one can only embrace so much. Our vision can only see as far as it can see. Pero yung hindi mo na matatanaw, may tutugtong dyan. Yun yung mga managers mo.
Ang tali-talino ng idol ko.
Ganyan yan.
Uy, Obet, ang tali-talino mo, ha?
Hindi. Practical lang akong mag-isip.
Anyway, totoo yun. Actually, tinuturo ko yan, Obet. Totoo yun kasi nag-change na yung strategy. It has to be consultative. Yung sinasabi natin democratic, di ba? And besides, when you do it, you now involved yung sa baba, yung lower than the directors, and then siguro you have to even include kung may union, yung union, you can even include
yan.
Oo, you can even, kasi that should cut across. Iba na po yung para bang it is an exclusive activity. Kasi actually naman, Obet, ang ginagawa niyan, kaya yan exclusive kasi pumupunta sa mga resort at doon sila nag-iisip-isip para lang mag-party-party na sa resort. Hindi. Ang strategic plan, it has to be, should cut across the organization and everybody should be involved because nga, nag-scanning. Yung sinabi mo kanina, nag-SWOT ka eh. Ang SWOT is strength and weaknesses. Ang unang makakaalam yung nasa baba, yung strength niya eh. Baka nakikita ng tao niya, ang lens niya is only is also fake, hindi niya nakikita yung totoo. So people should really tell us na mahirap na.
Saka wag nating kalilimutan dyan yung another group. Wala mo sino yun?
Ano yun?
The third party.
Oo.
The third party, ito yung mga suppliers mo, ito yung mga service providers mo,
dapat
anyone who is not regular employees kasi they are in close contacts with your customers and they know what's really happening in the battlefield, so to speak. Now, kailangan mag-i-speaking din yung boss sa battlefield kasi para makita mo, you have a feel of what's really happening out there without them knowing it. Alam mo, ang tawag ko dito, ginagamit ko to eh. And I also teach this, no? Yung unobtrusive observation. Oh, sabi mo yan.
Yes. May natuto ako sa iyo. So two things sa iyo na nakuha ko. One is dapat involve ang mga tao because that is where you get this. I would like to share this with you. When I was with Inquirer, alam mo yung mga plans namin sa taas, pagbaba namin kung kinakascade namin doon sa mga sales kasi 'di ba I was VP on sales. May oras nagsasabi, sir, yung plano na yan, it cannot happen. Hindi doable. So kailangan ang strategy is involve them already when you come up with plans kasi they know the ground. Di ba may mga taong they know the ground. Nang sinabi mo naman, yung mga in the, what do you call this, mga tower ivory people, ivories, di ba? Yung gayang para bang national ka, hindi nga yung mga heads umiikot sa mga branches mo. Di ba? Yung paano mo malaman yung ground and yan doon ka lang sa main office.
Yes. Ito, share ko sa'yo, no? The people that I work with in the past years. By the way, naalala kong bigla, 37 years na pala ako sa HR work. No? October. Oo, kasi October 1 ako nagsimula sa HR. Alam nila yan na hindi ako mapakali sa opisina. After I finish the urgent and important papers, I really go out. Sumasakay ako sa truck. I rove around. At talagang I go to the shop floor, to the factory line. Umiikot ako sa perimeter fence. I also mingle with other functional areas. At kung may time, I really make it a point. Now, pagdating sa operations, talagang nakikisalimuha ako sa sales.
Okay. So that is actually on the people engaged in coming up with the plans. Kasi may oras yung nagagawa ng plano are not actually grounded on what is happening. So di ba ang sinabi niyan, highfalutin lang. Ang tanong ko sa iyo, can a separate team do a strategic plan? Sabi, di ba mayroon dyan mga mayayaman na mga kumpanya, they just as a consultant or a team to do it for them, and then later on what they do is to show it to the people. I know of a company na ganun eh. Kasi I was asked to do it. Kaya cool pa. Pagdating ng oras, actually, yung ginawa namin is to influence the team to just say yes on a prepared strategic. Anong thoughts mo yan? Kasi ako may culpa, parang mali. Hindi lang parang mali.
Hindi, again, depende uli yan doon sa mindset ng management team, sa environmental scan, sa workforce analysis mo, sa profile ng mga tao, etc. etc. Ano ba yung proof of the pudding mo na gusto mo na makita? Di nasa eating yan, di ba? So, sabi nga ni Dr. Kobe, begin with the end in mind. Kaya you really have to be proactive and not reactive. So, part of being proactive is really to define yung calculated risk. Kasi we can really create an excellent strat plan or whatever plan you may call it and tap the experts in the country, in the global arena. Pero pagka hindi empowered at hindi competent yung mga mag-i-implement yan, especially takot sila to take the risk o define the risk. O, paano yan? Yung calculated risk. Yan yung proactiveness.
Ako ang nakikita ko niyan, yung para bang the direction is already done. Di ba yung na-craft na yung mission, yung vision kasi nag-review. Although you still para bang just for the sake of having it para bang influence that people will agree with it. Pero naka-prepare na naka-script na. Tapos even the plans na plano na nung presidente, nung COO with the consultants. At tapos ang parang ginagawa is just to PR and then present it to the management team na nagagawa ng tapos para bang imprimatur. Ito na nga. Anong masasabi mo diyan sa process na yan? Kasi usually ganun ang nangyayari ngayon, PP Obet, Ang dami ngayong mga di ba they know, para bang PP Obet, you're so good in strategic plan. Can you help us do a strategic plan and you do it to us? Tapos pinapagawa nito. Pagdating ng oras, lang tayo, sudo-sudo tayo na na planning session. Pero plan ayos na. Anong masasabi mo dyan? Kasi nangyayari yan ngayon. Sa akin nangyari yan, may kulpa.
Alam mo, lalo ngayon, hindi lahat ng bagay madadaan mo sa instant.
Kaya, tama. Tama. And
Walang
besides,
instant yun.
baka hindi sundin.
Oo, alam mo, ako this is based on my experience. Alam mo naman, yung mga planning experts, may kanya-kanyang mga style and approaches yan eh. But I think, bago mag-jump into the strat plan workshop, pakita mo yung end-to-end, yung A to Z. And part of that is the calibration during the implementation. Kaya nga dapat merong sabihin mo ng quarterly revisit of the strat plan vis-a-vis the approved annual plan of each departments all the way to the section level. Kasi meron kang dapat diyang watchtower eh. Di ba? So,
Sino ang dapat mag-review PPO?
kaya nga, una-una, standard naman niya, meron tayong corporate planning department or group. You have also the management services department or management services group. Kasi the operational departments, including the support services, which are finance, HR, no? Siyempre, busy yan sa day-to-day operations eh. Pero somehow, through the corporate planning group, kasi yan yung sinasabi ko sa'yo, yun yung nasa likod nung nung bossing, nung management team, nung Mancom. But the people behind him should not be in the front of them. Kumbaga, sila yung magsasabi, boss, so far we are on right track. Based on the radar, wala hong tayo nakikitang masamang bagyong darating or whatever. Boss, ito yung karagdagang input according to the experts from the government side. At dito sa ating industry, ito yung nangyayari na. Meron na palang mga attempts on researches at for sure bigla na lang bulagayan na nandiyan na yan. So ano ang gagawin natin?
Pero hindi dapat mag-impose yung corporate planning group.
Hindi pa pwede kasi nga ano lang yan, guide siya, katulong siya. Oo.
Okay. So alam mo, what we're discussing, dapat alam niya ng HR. Kasi these are actually the dynamics in conducting it. Nandiyan pa yung si Ami, at the time that this was around 30 years ago, yun yung sinasabi ko sa inyo na para bang may secretariat lang na management services kami. Secretariat lang at yung ginagawa lang ng mga bosses. Tapos, wala nang pakialam yung supervisors and down, walang pakialam. Pagdating ng oras, ang hirap-hirap ng supervisors and down to really actually implement it kasi may disconnect yung plans doon sa ground. So that's one. The other one is, yun na nga, hindi maganda na somebody is doing it for you kasi dapat the one who should be doing it actually, it's the current management team. Hindi pa pwedeng finifeed yung plans kasi kaya nga strategic. Pero what I gathered from you, ang strategies is not actually cast in stones. These are actually plans pa. So,
guide lang yan, guide.
Guide lang. So what should really be yung para bang dapat ang masunod after looking into the guide are actually the operating, yung COO, the COO who is actually doing that. Diba? Kaya nga may presidente at may COO at may CEO. Diba? Yun ang
Saka alam mo, yes, if we involve people on the ground, dito sa pinag-uusapan natin, may ownership sila eh.
Yun.
Ownership kasi they feel they are motivated kasi 'di ba napakinggan, tapos diyan ngayon papasok yung mga engagement progress mo para bigyan mo ngayon ng somehow recognition. It's not really on the amount or
mag-chismis tayo PPO bit kasi 'di ba marami akong mga estudyante na nagte-take na ng certification. Ang sabi nila, kailan kaya kami, sir, mabigyan ng pagkakataon sa kumpanya namin nung aming pinag-aralan? Di ba ang dami ng millennials, ang dami ng senilals na pinag-aral natin ng mga masters, ng mga MBA. Tapos, yung mga plano, ang gumagawa pa rin yung mga matatandang na executive. Kailan mo yung gagamitin na nag-aral na nga yan eh.
Hindi, ganito yan, no? kahit anong bagay na pag hindi mo ginamit, mawawala yan.
Kaya nga.
Kaya, di ba, in one of our episodes, sabi ko, kung hindi ka pinapapasok o hindi ka makapasok, baka dapat kumatok ka. Kasi baka naman akala, walang tao dun sa likod ng pinto.
Yeah,
Hindi, katok ka naman gently. Pangalawa, look for that right timing, hindi opportunity. There's always opportunity, but it's the right timing. No? Especially kung nasa mood si bossing, maganda yung chika-chika nyo, at kunyari, meron siyang binigay na assignment na thinking out aloud, na meron tong implication doon sa mangyayari in relation to the strat plan. Ano ba naman yung basahin mo yung strat plan output, ano namang masama doon, bibigay naman sa iyo. Diba? And again, tingnan mo in another perspective, using different lenses, especially kung napag-aralan mo yan.
Okay.
Speak out your mind.
So ang nakuha ko kasi, I just gathered it from our conversation earlier, na dapat it has to be consultative. It should cut across, even going down, select even the mga stakeholders yan, di ba? Pero dapat magsabi rin yung sa baba na I am willing to do this, di ba? Kasi dapat kumatok din siya. Pero ang ano ko nga diyan, PP Obit, is that gamitin na yung fresh inputs, fresh blood. Yung hindi naman siguro, of course, na mga bata pa, so scary rin yun kasi sometimes ang bata are still so also mapusok. But ang tingin ko nito, ang pananaw ko lang, inputs in the strategic plans should now consider the inputs coming from the younger generation. Yan ang sa tingin ko. Kasi yan ang nakakatakot kasi the younger ones nag-aral na eh.
I mean, ano yan Jesse, that's a reality. Hindi mo naman maalis yan. Kaya, ang sabi ko nga kanina, yung right timing. Diba, right timing. So, kinakailangan, ako hindi ko tinitingnan kung bata o matanda. Ayoko kasing lagyan ng label yung mga empleyado. I think, Pero, kasi sabi ko nga, kung ako yung bata, pakita ko muna yung sa action ko.
Competency.
Pakita ko muna without saying anything. And for sure, my immediate boss and other bosses in the corridors of the corporate hall, mapapansin ako niyan without saying anything. Dapat hindi ako atribida, hindi rin ako mayabang. At dito papasok yung dito papasok yung interpersonal relationship mo.
Ang galing ng
sinabi. Almost in your bakuran muna. At the same time, widen that interpersonal relationship into a web of relationships outside of your functional area.
Ang galing ng sinabi mo, that it's a strategy in the strategic planning. Hindi gustong sabihin na may alam. Hindi gustong sabihin na may alam ka, makisawsaw ka na.
Hindi. Hindi ibig sabihin nakikisawsaw. Sabi ko, huwag ka nga maging atribida eh. Kailangan din, you also master. You master also
relationship.
The rules, the norms, the policies, guidelines. Sumunod ka muna. I mean, di ba? Tsaka,
alam mo, nag-i-enjoy ako sa conversation natin. Kasi
seryoso ba ako? Hindi. Hindi, totoo yan. Parang driving lang yan. Di ba nung una kang mag-drive, ikaw ba, nag-drive ka kagad na nakatingin sa kalsada? Di ba bago ka mag-shift ng gear, lalo nung panahon natin, wala pang matic.
Pero ang ganun ko kasi ako tumatawa. Ang sabi mo, wag maglagay ng labels matanda at bata. Paano competence? Paano kung yung matanda, nag-iisip na siya ay competent, pero iba na yung kanyang utak, hindi, parang hindi na align sa kailangan ng strategies.
Alam mo yan, kung ako yung bata, kamukha mo, mas matanda ka sa akin. Kinakailangan, ako naman, uunawain kita bilang nakakatanda sa akin, di ba? Kasi ako yung bata eh. Eventually, tatanda rin naman ako. Una-una lang naman din yan. Di ba? Alam mo, wala nang
Sayang,
perfect
sayang
approach.
dapat kasama natin dito si Joanne, tapos si Jerry at si Mitch,
Si Tito
Michelle.
Jerry, namimiss ko talaga din dito
Kasi
sa
actually, ang
shoutout naman Tito
pinag-uusapan
Jerry Plana. Join in.
ang
Shoutout Tito
pinag-uusapan
Jerry.
Ang pinag-uusapan natin dito is a strategy nung taong mag-strategic. yung, yung kanyang engagement, dapat alam niya na may, ano pa siya, is updated and alam mo pinakamahirap sa going back to strategic planning, the people engaged are not actually updated. To be serious about it, Pipi Obet ha. To be serious about it. Yung para bang sabi mo nga, we don't have to label bata o matanda, basta competent. Pero ngayon nandito na tayo sa competence, doon sa strategic planning, paano yung tao na mas consider natin competent in giving inputs na doon sa strategic plan? Ang sagot, alam ko ng sagot. They have to be grounded.
Sige, sagutin mo. Alam mo na eh. Hindi. Teka,
They have to be grounded.
Teka, nagiging suki mo na ako rito. Baka
of course naman, kasi gusto ko ganito ang yung para bang the HR hotline should not be para bang bagong pagmukha tapos dapat I have changed my format. There should be a continuous conversation of just a select group of people, and then so that the community will learn from our thoughts. Hindi yung hindi patsi.
Oo, dapat baka sabihin, si Obet na naman ang guest. Sasabihin. Pero seriously speaking, diyan nga papasok yung yung performance management, hindi yung performance appraisal. Because as we know by experience, ang tingin sa performance appraisal is the performance management. No. Performance management is from January 2 hanggang December 29. It's how you really give timely, accurate, objective feedback with helping mode, coaching, mentoring, diba? At you don't spoon feed the solution to the performer by asking the right question in relation to the task and what's happening. You draw out the response from the job holder.
Kasi tama. Kasi you're now leading into our conversation ito na para bang ang isang source doon sa SWOT, knowing your strength and your weaknesses, is yung performance management mo.
Exactly. Tsaka yun na nga, bago akong maging strategies, tingnan ko muna yung SWOT sa sarili ko. What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? What are the opportunities? And what are the threats? So how can I sustain my strengths so that it will not become a weakness?
Okay.
And what effort can I do to make my weakness to become a strength? Okay. Now, what are the available opportunities para mag-grab ko siya to add on to my strengths? How can I convert the threats to become an opportunity? Yun ang mga tanong dyan eh.
Obet, maganda kasi we'll have a break. Tapos, pero that will now be our start kasi di ba after acquisition, dapat learning and development ang strategies. You just started it. It's not actually anymore, it is aligned, it is integrated with performance, but this is more on yung individual development plan. Kasi sinabi mong individual SWOT eh. When you come up with your individual development, yung sinabi mo is actually that eh. What are my strengths? What are my needs? So we start from that when we come back. Yan ang,
but before you take the break, no? Nabanggit mo yung individual. May tinatawag na IDP, Individual Development Plan, aligned to the integrated development plan of people in the organization.
Yeah. Hindi, kasi nag-umpisa ka na nagsabi ka na individually, alam mo dapat yung weakness mo, yung strength mo, tapos what are you going to do? Kaya, tamang-tama, that will be our next topic on the strategies for learning and development. Napakatalino po ng ating kambal ko po ng aking idol. Yan po ang umpisa. If you're an HR, if you're a leader, yan po ang umpisa sa learning and development. Hindi lang nag-come up ng program. Dapat malaman muna individually para na nag-strat doon din yung tao, yung kanyang SWOT, strength and weakness, at anong gagawin. Then we start from that. So ang ganda ng discussion. Direct, let's have our break first before we continue with that.
Have you been dreaming of launching your own podcast but don't know how and where to start? Let ValuePod Productions podcast editing and management services help you effortlessly launch, syndicate, and grow your podcast. Message us at facebook.com/ValuePodProductions. ValuePod Productions podcast editing and management services, humanizing personal connections through podcasting. Yes, can we have that poster where we are supposed to invite our viewers to the various live stream platform of online shows for people on the go? We are inviting you to watch all our shows as seen on our screen. We aim to transform the lives of our viewers through engaging, authentic, and original content. Our mission is to become a community where passionate people accept each other, share inspiration, and promote positive transformation. Of course, don't forget to watch HR Hotline every Saturday. More upcoming shows. Follow hashtag tncnow on Facebook, YouTube, and other social media platforms. Enjoy our life-changing shows because we made them for you. Thank you, Direct. Can we have Can we have PP Obet? Kasi ang oras natin napakabilis. O PPO, but we start from that. Let us now discuss. Hindi talaga matapos-tapos itong usapan natin kasi nasa pangalaw lang tayo ng HR strategic, yung strategic HR management, acquisition, and we're now in the learning and development. And you started because you mentioned performance. Yung individually must know his strength and weaknesses. And we are now at the IDP, and I think that is the first strategy. The first strategy that HR must have now, before they come up with any program, is for them to roll out that everybody must have IDP. What are your thoughts on this? More on this, because you are. I know you have done this in your organization. PPO, IDP,
Yung sa
individual.
learning and development,
Yes,
input output naman yan input output, no? But
yes,
in between the input and output, there's the process. So where do you anchor the
yes. Where do you anchor the process? Nawawala si yes.
process?
Where do you,
How do you
yes. Where do you
for it to be, yes, for everything, for it to be effective, efficient, and productive, yan naman ang bottom line result niyan. So kailangan needs based yan. It must be
yes. Yeah, it has to be needs based and based on the IDP. Nawawala-wala si PP Obet. And that is, yung input, output nga eh. The input are the people that you are inviting to join you. So those are actually so dapat, doon pa lang sa acquisition, you make sure that the people are teachable, that they have the potential really to grow, to learn. Yung hindi trainable, dapat teachable. So that is the input. And then, sinabi ni PP Obet may process. And then yung start na is try to know of the needs. What are their needs? So from the start, nalaman na after the onboarding, alam na yung ng boss, ng tao mismo, at ng HR, ano ang kailangan na i-develop dun sa tao for him to have that experience. Remember, ang sabi nga ni PP Obet, the output, ang output is not just you have a competent uh, what do you call this, employee, you have a happy employee, and that is yung experience niya is okay, so that mayroon yang yun ang sinasabi ng may tahi. When he is happy, mayroon siyang centricity sa kanya, and then that customer centricity pwede niya mailabas sa iba. Yung parang kasabihan na, how can you give love if you don't have love? So, how can you give information if you don't have information? How can you give excellent service if you are not excellent? So input nga, tama nga yung sinasabing, ang strategy is input, output, and then there is the process. So, pero let us try to consider what is the situation now. So ano mga strategies mo for learning and development? One is siguro because there is a change, a transition. It's very lab to look into para bang ano muna, uh, culture sa tao. How can yung change management sa tao. So that is the strategies now. One is paano niya magamit yung change in technology. So bibilisan mo talaga. The strategy is for everybody from the president down. Ang mahirap ulit nga nito yung medyo a little bit resistant to the use of gadgets. And then the other one is the mindset ng coming to the office or yung face-to-face or yung uh, virtual or work from home. So yan muna dapat ang ituturo natin. So that is the first strategy kasi that really spells on how you're going to be effective. You don't really have to impose it, but little by little, parang nandyan na yan, so they have to embrace it. That's one. Another strategy might be are the platforms that you're going to use. Are you going to use Teams? Are you going to use what do you call this? WebEx? StreamYard? Are you going to use Zoom? Dapat tuturuan mo. Then, yes. I-continue ka lang, PP Obet, yung sinabi mo
Okay.
kanina na input, output. So, can you continue what your thoughts are before nawala ka sa connectivity? Yeah. So nandun ka sa sabi mo na
Pag
the
kasi
process.
sinabi nating learning and yes, pag sinabi kasi natin learning and development, there must be a
Yes.
blueprint niya na wherein again yung internal stakeholders
Nawawala pa rin si PP of it. Yes, of course there should be a program. Individual. Kaya nga yung kukunin sa IDP, you have to come up with your career development plan or your career path na gagawin niya leading to succession planning program. Tapos, yung IDP also will be the basis for your ano, um, L&D, yung training programs, which should not be just patsi-patsi, which has to be 3 years. Ang ano ko, ang time frame ko na iisip ngayon for all plans is 3 years. 3 years. So titingnan mo yung ano yung kailangan mo na, needs. Sinabi ni PP Obet, needs. And after that, titingnan mo rin on the other side, may potential. So needs and potential. And titingnan mo rin sa'yo, so we have supply and demand, ano naman ang mapoprovide mo? Ano ang mga ways na mapoprovide mo? Doon sa need niya, baka ang potential na pwede siya maging leader, ang need niya, hindi siya nakatapos, may kakayahan ka bang pag-aralin siya? May kakayahan ka bang pag-aralin siya ng masters? I know, nakita ko yun witness ako, this is around 10 years ago. Ang actually itong SM, they have this program, executive program, na nakasabay ko sa DUZIT. Actually, na nagtuturo sa kanila are from AIM. So, may capacity ka ba pagtuturuan ng iyong mga potential leaders na pagbigyan ng pagbigyan talaga ng masters bala pag-aralin. Kasi iba ang mga ways ibang ways na kung how you're going to develop your leaders hanggang yung are you going to send them abroad for tours, for immersion. I know this. I know of another company. Sige, I mentioned ko na Dole Philippines. I know them na they send their junior managers abroad to get to familiarize themselves with what the other sites are doing, di ba? So ganun ang mga strategies na gagawin natin ngayon. Even despite the pandemic, dapat ang learning should continue. So while waiting for PPO, but yan ang the input nga yung taong, kaya mag-ingat po tayo sa ini-invite natin na tao to join us. Ang tanong naman, nandyan na. So kung nandyan na, then you can go to the second strategy and try to get what are the needs. And it should be, in all, 360 from the person, and ito, malay mo naman, may kailangan siya pero wala naman siyang potential. Malay mo naman, pinag-aralan niyo, pagdating ng oras, umalis din. So titingnan mo talagang, of course, yan ang risk. Diba? And that is the vulnerability of that strategy. Pero titingnan mo naman yung, nakita ba ito ng kanyang boss, immediate boss? Nakita ba ito ng HR? Nasa plano ba ito? So, yan ang unang strategy sa learning and development. Then along the way, gagawa ka nga talaga ng program. So hindi lang nakita mo na one of the managers medyo mahina magsulat. Nagpaano ka na ng kinuha mo na ako for business writing. O nakita nyo na medyo may nag-away. Kinuha mo na ako, ginagawa ko yan ngayon. Kinuha mo na ako for stress and anger management. Okay lang yun, pero patsi-patsi yun. Kasi dapat nakalagay yan sa isa talagang program na parang mayroon kang, what do you call it, curriculum, mayroon ka talagang development program, development plan. So titingnan mo talaga ngayon yung anong mga needs. Pero pag mag-uumpisa ka sa basic, Ang karamihan ngayon, because this is a transition, there we're transitioning from one what has happened to a something that is uncertain. Ang ginagawa ngayon is values enrichment. Kasi ang katunayan nga, ang need, medyo nag-iba yung ugali ng tao. Kasi nga ito, yung una, yung work-life integration hindi makuha. So that the strategy is actually looking into that. Okay? Are we now okay, PP Obet? Ang dami ko nang share.
Okay naman, maganda naman mga
Kasi yung learning and development is one function na dapat hindi yan mawala ngayon. That even if we are on a lockdown, we're in the pandemic. Diba? So, ano ang strategy na gagawin natin? Ang strategy is not actually yung patsi-patsi. Kaya nga strategic eh. Strategic. Okay, nawawala pa rin si PP Obet. Okay, while waiting for PP Obet, tingnan ko kayo doon sa strategic thinking. Ayan, yan na, pakinig. Sa strategic thinking, mag-uumpisa ka muna ng, di ba, sitwasyon, pandemic, creative thinking muna. Try to think about it. Dapat muna creative thinking. Hindi ka na nga mag-iisip ng problema. Try just to see that this is the situation. Try to be creative. What will I have to do with the situation? So it's either be creative. Sa creative thinking, nandiyan po yung innovation, nandiyan po yung what do you call this, yung creation. Diba? Then after that, sa creative thinking, papasok mo yung critical thinking. Ano yan ha? It's a process in your mind. It's a mindset. So after that, so itong situation, I have to be creative. And you have to be critical. Iisipin mo, ito ba yung tama? Ito ba yung mali? Tapos kasama kasi sa critical thinking, you must have the data. Kasi hindi ka nagbabase sa false. Hindi ka nagbabase sa mga haka-haka. After ng creative thinking, systems thinking, ang nang gustong sabihin, itong iniisip ko, how will it affect the rest? Hindi ka nga pupunta, what is the problem anymore? Kaya ka nga nandyan. Then after that, system thinking, doon ka nagiging strategic. So, ang yan ang sinasabi namin ni PP Obet, ang dali-dali sabihin ng strategic, pero sa mindset ng isang tao, kahit ikaw ay home maker, ikaw ay boss, ikaw ay janitor, ikaw ay security guard, ang pag-isip ngayon po, dapat is strategic. Para bang, ano ang kakainin ko mamaya? Ito bang kakainin ko, makaka-apekto sa aking diabetes? O itong kakainin ko, magugutom ba ako pag alas 2? So, ganun ang strategic. So, ganun, if you make it bigger, ganun din po pagdating sa opisina. So, pag sabihin natin, tuturuan lang natin ng business writing, ano ba ang katuturan nito doon sa need na sinasabi ni PP Obet at sa output? Yun, ang dami ko na sabi, PP Obet, waiting for you.
Sorry for the disconnection. In other words, dapat meron ka din mga functional strategies. Yes. Functional strategies representing the different functions from the support services to the operations.
Yes, tama.
Kasi hindi lang naman sa taas yan, no? Taga-labas. Pati dapat yung consultant involved siya dyan. And the internal people must also be at home. At tawag yung word doon, yung at home, yung at ease, kapalagayan loob din nila yung consultant. Dapat both parties must not be intimidated to one another. Kasi nandun tayo para manalo. Pero paano tayo manalo? Kung dito pa sa loob, medyo hindi align yung ating mga thinking, no? Kaya yun.
Okay. May tanong ako, Sir PP Obet, kasi diba, strategies in learning and development, what are your thoughts nitong what are the strategies na it is adult learning and then there is a pandemic? Ano dapat ang gawin ng HR ngayon? What are the ways that they have to do to consider na they are now going to train adults, so adult learning, and it is in a pandemic? Ano kayang mga dapat gawin?
Nabanggit mo yung adult, o di andragogy. Ano ba opposite ng adult? Child. Pedagogy. Kaya titingnan mo yung methodology at saka prepared ba, competent, credible ba. well-experienced yung mga trainers mo, internal and external. So, pati yan sa training design, tinitingnan yan. Ano ba profile ng participants mo? Again, nasa training needs analysis yan. Pedagogical ba, andragogical, whatever. So, i-customize mo talaga siya. Baka naman yung 50% ng participants ayaw nila ng andragogy approach. Baka naman nasa pedagogy approach. Titingnan nga yan. Kaya nga customize ang tawag dyan. Mindset again.
I'll give you a concrete example. I am being tasked to do a anger and um, a stress management webinar. Kasi ang sagot nila, they got daw an agency to teach on mental health. Ang tinuro, yung theories of mental health. Ang sabi ng mga tao raw, well, hindi naman ito ang kailangan namin eh. Ang kailangan namin kung how, kung paano kami mag-ano. So sabi nga, siguro Sir Jess, huwag na yung mental health, diretso na natin how they are going to manage their anger and stresses ngayon. So yun ang sinasabi mo, yan na yung methodology eh. Yung nakuha, yung nagturo kung what is mental health. Siguro.
Ako, kamukha ko sa experience ko rin hindi lahat nung nag-i-invite sa akin, inoohan ko kaagad. Nagpo-probing muna ako. Ano ba ang gusto natin sa dulo? Natin hindi gusto mo o gusto ko. So, probing questions. Find out first. O, tapos sasabihin ko in the end, hindi nyo kailangan yan. Ang kailangan nyo, ito lang. Paano yung invitation namin sa'yo? Hindi na, okay na yun. Kasi hindi yan yung
yung sinasabi, one strategy, nagkulang yung yung needs analysis. Yung sa adding.
Yes. Alam mo, di ba? Titingnan mo hindi yung tip of the iceberg. Tingnan mo yung what's beneath the surface. Yun yung boulder of the tip of the iceberg.
Ang mahirap pa naman ngayon kasi the time frame given to learning is not even hindi gaya ng face to face na you have the whole day or ngayon ang gusto nila is even half day or even lesser. And then so it's more of solution based learning, di ba?
Dapat yun para maging maganda yung training design mo. Tsaka yung ROI and importance of the training program. I-sampler mo yan sa mga immediate superiors para, again, part of your calibration bago mo i-roll out yan sa madlang people. So,
right.
mabilisan yan, Kaya, kung gaano katindi yung competencies na requirement dyan on the part of the L&D. Kasi nga, yung curation na tinatawag natin dyan, etc. So, dapat mabilis. For example, as you conduct the program, na sense ng trainer, resource speaker, naku, hindi ito yung wrong ang aking
direksyon, curriculum.
Curriculum. Dapat mabilis kang mag-shift. So you call for a short kidney break. Tapos dapat mabilis mo i-shift yung materials mo. But you should not be confined in your training materials. Kasi kaya dapat sa part of any training, kahit sa webinar, may expectation setting. Yun muna, expectation setting. From December, usually, i-greet, ganyan. Pero expectation setting, para makita mo, ano yung level of requirement needs ng participants. Ano yung common and everything. Tapos, i-link mo yan sa training objectives. But dapat, mabilis ka rin na to shift yung approach mo. Titingnan mo ano yung mas nakakarami.
May agility. Oh. Yung pala nagpo-provide ng training. By the way, I would like to mention Gemma Duque is listening to us. At pareho na tayo naka-orange. So, ang gusto mong sabihin, PP Obet, that one is, alam dapat ng HR, ng leaders, ang needs. At this time, dapat alam nila yung needs. At this moment, in a quick, ito ang kailangan ng tao na ito. And then come up with that program. Pero may sinabi ka, but that program should have been there ever since, even pre-COVID, o kung ngayon man, gawan yan, na hindi patsi-patsi yung sa need. So, the needs, aayusin yung needs at aayusin mo kung paano mo matugunan yung needs. Ganun ba yun?
Eto, yes. Ibibigay ko tong practical, hindi tip, practical approach based on my experience. Whenever I invite an external resource speaker, kahit na mas titulado pa yan, hindi ako na-intimidate. Part of my norms with the external speakers, sasabihan ko siya during break time na sabihin ko, wag kang maano kasi dapat it takes two to tango tayo dito. So, wag tayong ma-confine dito sa pinag-uusapan natin design. Kasi pakikiramdaman natin yung level of needs, level of experience, level of concentration, and whatever level. Kasi ito yung objective. Ako naman, if I run the program, sinasabi ko sa aking training team, you also give me feedback kung slow, fast, moderate, and you watch
Right.
the audience, the
So,
participants,
so what
so that
I'm
I
gathering
can
from
also
you,
adjust. Mm.
so what I'm
Saka
gathering
may
from you, that
tinatawag tayong temperature check-up, di ba? Using overhead question. O meron ka ding
oo.
indirect question and direct question. Para
Dapat palang
ma-confirm.
what I'm gathering from you, hindi yung parang naka-menu, naka-template na
Yes.
yung tinuturo. Dapat you have to adjust along the way. So this is a good strategy. You have to adjust along the way. Depends on the audience reactions on their learning, on their reaction on what they are learning. Kasi kung hindi naman gagamitin.
Kaya a seasoned trainer, resource speaker, is important. Seasoned, ah. Kaya dapat yung
Mm.
HR toolbox ng seasoned trainer na yan, hindi lang by the books. He or she is also backed up by long time experience na talagang sadsad yan sa taga ng panahon. Doon mo makikita yung seasoned trainer, resource speaker, at people developer. Otherwise, pag so-so lang yan, kaya nga doon sa mga kumukuha ng certification courses, maganda yan. But you really have to find time to practice, and challenge what you have learned. Because it is only through learning that we will really pick up the true lessons of learning. And never be afraid to commit mistakes, because that's the only way for you to fortify what you have learned in the classroom, because the actual world is a different setting. It's like playing golf. Namimiss ko na mag-play ng golf, uminto na ako. Sa driving range, you can do a perfect practice there. But you are in a controlled environment. Driving range yan eh. Pero pumunta ka sa fairway, Allah. And each fairways, iba-iba ang mga design yan. Iba-iba ang factors na ma-manage mo. So, ganun din sa L&D practitioners. Ganyan din mga kumuha ng certification courses. And you
Ang
should not
galing.
also confine your practice within your corporate world. Diyan sa head office. Punta ka sa planta. Punta ka doon sa labas. Because training is not inside the training room. Training happens everywhere. You don't need a
That's right.
formal training.
Adaptive. Okay.
Yun lang naman ang
Ang masasabi ko rin niya, ma-add ko niyan dyan, yung parang ang kahit na doon sa uh, to be detailed on the topics that you're going to discuss, if it is already parang searchable at nandiyan na sa YouTube, nandiyan na sa TikTok, at nandiyan na sa Google, parang hindi na yung tao yung just imagine yung ang lalim-lalim pa nung iyong definition or theories, nare-research na yan ngayon sa Google. So
Kaya importante yan Jesse, yung priming before you send your people to a training program, no? Ipa-prime mo muna yan i-prepare mo yan. But if the supervisor don't know how to prime their people as participants to the program, including the supervisor with the support of the manager, so mahirapan. Now, importante dyan yung follow-through. Hindi lang yung basta yung IDP, yung Individual Development Plan na napadala ko na sa training. Hindi, dapat pagbalik yan. May follow-through yan. Doon papasok yung support na nurturing na ibibigay ng immediate superior on the newly trained participant para masustain.
I love what you're sharing. So it's not actually even HR who should do it, but actually their direct supervisors. The priming.
Yes. And then
Ah,
from
ah,
time to time, dapat si L&D from time to time, medyo bibisita dun sa department. Medyo tatanungin din, kakamustahin yung newly trained participant. O so far, 3 months na. How do you find applying the training program na inattendan mo? O, ayan. Para part of your ano pa rin yung calibration in
okay.
improving further the training design. That's the
Okay.
pro pro
Okay,
L&D
PPO office,
practitioner.
wag ka mag ano, wag ka magsawa kasi we only have 2, 3 episodes to go. We continue with this kasi nag-umpisa ka dun sa after this, let's discuss performance and rewards, 'di ba? Dito bitin pa nga tayo rito sa learning eh. Kasi hindi pa tayo doon yung sa pag-evaluate if the learning is actually effective or not. So let us just discuss it as fast and then let us just iripaso lang natin what are the strategies that they have to do so that all of these activities and functions are done. Before we close, can you give your parting message as far as what we discussed for today? The one on the what do you call this? Yung I'm more background things to do on on corporate planning, and then this one on learning and development. Please.
Yeah, plain simple. It's how you look at the bigger picture. It's how you look at the bigger picture. By looking at the bigger picture, on a personal note, I must be able to acquire the required competencies. No, because part of that bigger picture is the puzzle that I'm holding, which is my position description, my job in the organization. And how do I fit in my puzzle into the bigger picture? And I should be able to see the interrelationship of the different so many factors in that bigger picture. And I must not only be limited within the four corners of my functional area. And yan, no? Second, uh, again, on a personal note, dapat alam ko din ano yung strategy na dapat kong gawin. No, now, vis-a-vis to the bigger picture. O yan. On the bigger picture naman, yung mga nagpo-formulate ng mga strategic plan na ganyan, titignan din yan on a micro level. At dapat invite yung mga tao sa baba. As I've said before, horizontal and vertical approach. And the strategic plan is not a casting stone. What matters most is how each and everyone will be able to adapt to the sign of the times and push the right button so that you get the right result. You
Okay.
not basically profit, but people first who will make the plan work, and later on you will realize the profit. Probably not in terms of money, but in terms of how people feel that they are really loved and taken care of by management and the organization because of value of Manasaki from the heart. Thank you.
before I give my short conclusion, can you smile so that the rec can have a picture of the two of us because I'm going to post it in my social media. The rec, can you take a picture of us too? The rec, the rec, nakuha mo na? The rec, pa-picture naman po kami. Ay, wala na siguro si Direk. Anyways,
Thank you
yeah,
for your invitation and especially to our audience. Maraming salamat po. Stay safe and healthy. God bless.
okay. And there goes, ladies and gentlemen. What a wonderful episode today. Because it is actually what is behind when you come up with your strategic plan. One is that the people that should be engaged should be strategic. So even the one who is actually coming up with the composition, dapat strategic siya kung who will be there. And then what is the current now that everybody should be consulted. Not only it's not an exclusive thing anymore from the top, and more what we have discussed, it should not be coming from something that is outside because it should be somebody who will act grounded. And then grounded naman The one you're actually doing the plans, yung sinabi ni Pipi Obet ka, umikot-ikot ka man muna. Kasi you don't just, usually ang ginagawa, you just ask somebody to report and somebody and then you listen and what is in the plan. Dapat talaga umikot ka talaga. So, if you are a nationwide, it's really a challenge. You really have to kahit hindi ka makaabot doon, siguro give a call and try to know the feel of what is in the ground. The other one is, it's not cast in stone as mentioned, pero the time frame is not even more than 3 years. And then it is just a direction, and then we are more on the strategic execution on how the strategy, strategic direction affects the people in it. So it's more on the people that is going to execute it. Now, we also discussed dun sa learning and development. At yun nga, may nagsabi, sige nga, hindi mo turuan yung tao ngayon at nandyan pa yan at walang kaalam-alam anong mangyayari sa organisasyon mo. Kaya ako dito sa bahay, continuous ako tinuturuan yung aking katulong. May oras mas matalino na siya sa akin and that is strategic. Parang ako ay YouTube na lang at na Netflix. Well, anyway, so marami pong strategy. We even went into the details, the needs, mag-training needs. And then the details na kahit na dun sa trainer, you have to be agile. And that is a very nice strategy ngayon. Karamihan nga ang problema, yung naka-template yung tuturo, may oras, hindi naman yung response, yung reaction ng ating human resource, yung ating tinitrain, ay medyo hindi sa engage. Remember na hindi face-to-face. Remember that it is actually on a different platform. So dapat makikita mo kung medyo hindi engage, yung hindi relevant yung tinuturo, change it. So dapat kahit na sa training at siguro VUCA, volatile, uncertain ka. Kasi dependent naman nga doon. Hindi po, teachers-led. Hindi ito gaya nung sinabi ni Pipi Obet kanina. Hindi based doon sa teacher. It's actually based doon sa learner. Kung ano ang need niya, dapat yan ang tugunan. Kasi adult learning na po. So very good. If you share this, kasi this is a very important episode. We are discussing extensively strategies on how you're going to do the functions of HRs in your organization. So there goes, ladies and gentlemen, Diyos mabalos po. Direct.